What's up guys, my name is Dave with Amari Productions, and yeah, that's a pretty bold title this week, but I mean it. So let's dive in. Okay, this week I want to talk about style. Different styles of cinematography, how your videographer is going to approach your day, both filming your day and editing your day. So whether you are an engaged couple, planning your wedding, looking to figure out what you want in your videography, or you are an aspiring filmmaker, just looking to up your game, to gain some experience, gain some knowledge. Don't make every mistake I made. You know, learn from some of them before you make them yourselves. This video is for you. All right, let's jump in. I already did that part. I already did the intro part. Okay, well we're just gonna keep rolling then. Oh, and then yeah, at the end of this video, I will touch on our specific style and approach, why it is the way that it is, and my recommendations. And yeah, I kind of touch on what I feel like is wrong with wedding videography. So stay tuned for the juicy details. That was so dumb. Okay, first, filming. And again, I'm not gonna go through like every little nuance. It could be this or it could be that. I'm just gonna kind of hit on the big main points for me. So first, when it comes to filming, the biggest thing is moments. Are the moments of the day that they are capturing, are they candid or are they posed? Are they natural, raw, real? Like any of those kind of words might be what you're looking for in packaging and branding. Or are they bringing more of a composed, are they going to block you out for scenes? Are they going to ask you to act things out? I think these days the prevailing style is very candid and natural, which is definitely different, I think, than maybe 5-10 years ago even. Style these days is very, very natural, very candid, very raw, very real. You'll hear all of those words. I would expand on that. I would ask them, maybe even give them some real life examples of, you know, how do you approach couples portraits? How do you approach how I'm reading letters or putting on my dress? Obviously there's some things like the ceremony that you can't pose people, you just, that's happening and you have to film it. But you can ask for how they would approach other parts of the day to really understand just how candid and natural a videographer is in their approach. Now, you may be thinking, hey, I'm camera shy, like I don't know what to do in front of the camera, so I think I want somebody that's gonna direct me, that's gonna tell me what to do. I would be a little bit hesitant on that because let's kind of dive into that a little bit further. I've said dive in like 5 times already. Anyways, let's expand on that a little bit more. So, candid, natural, raw, like what does that mean? Does that mean that like you're just gonna be standing there like awkwardly in front of the camera and they're not gonna tell you anything? No, of course not. What that means is when we get into the room, when we first get there in the morning, the very first thing we're gonna do is just make you feel at ease. Say hi, ask how you're doing, ask how the day's going, introduce ourselves to everybody around the room, and just become a part of your team, part of your core group of family and friends that are with you throughout the day, so that after a few minutes, we can just kind of blend in with the rest of your team and you can just go back to enjoying your wedding day and not thinking about us. On the flip side, for somebody who is going to direct you more, who's going to pose you more, I guess I'm kind of giving away what style I prefer here. I'm not gonna go out of my way to try to appear unbiased here, I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody who's gonna direct you more, who's gonna pose you, who's gonna have you act out scenes. This is something we would never do, but I have seen photographers do this when we're working side by side with photographers, so I have seen this in the real world. It is going to require you to be able to act, because you're gonna get pulled out of the moment. They're gonna tell you, here's what I want you to do, or can you go do this again and do it from this angle, or do it over here. And then they're gonna say, okay, do it. Open the letter, look at your mom. Whatever it is they're gonna have you do, you are gonna be able to have to act. And then the downside of that is you're probably not a classically trained actor or actress, so it's probably gonna look like you forced it, because they're having you force it. So, don't worry if you're not comfortable in front of the camera. Don't worry if it doesn't feel natural to be in front of the camera. That's kind of the whole point of candid, natural videography, is that, or photography for that matter, is that we get you comfortable and then we get out of your face and just let you enjoy your day. Now, if we're in a time of day like couples portraits, where we have you away from the guests, and the goal is for you guys to just like love on each other for a while we document that. That's literally gonna be would be my first direction. Would just say like, This path is beautiful, it's really well lit, just walk down it and love on each other. And I'll just yell out stop when I want you guys to kind of stop because I like where you're at. And that's as much direction as I'll give you. And if you guys can just kind of forget about us and just start walking down the path and whispering sweet nothings about, oh my God, we did it, we're married, I can't believe it, like, what, and you just start like having your moment, then we're gonna shut up and just let you do your thing. That's natural, that's candid, that's raw, that's real, it's all those things. If you get to the end and you just kind of look at us like, what do I do with my hands? Then of course, like, we'll jump in and give you some little tips and little nudges that can not fully direct you, but can just help you get back into that moment together with each other. So that is number one when it comes to approach. Candid versus, I don't really know what the term might be used, but like directed might be like the most common term. But yeah, candid versus directed, and again, candid is very much in right now, so you'll probably hear something along those lines, but you can definitely dig into that a little bit more. Okay, the second thing, and maybe the biggest thing for me when it comes to approaches in filmmaking, is movement. Our industry, forever it seems like, is very reliant on movement. Not your movement, on camera movement in their footage. There are so many videographers I see, both that are like applying to work for us or just other companies, where so much of their day is spent on the gimbal, which is just a way of holding your camera steady cam, smooth cam, gimbal, whatever you want to call it, moving around, getting all these shots that have a lot of movement, and not paying attention nearly as much to their composition, to their framing, to their subjects. It's as if they're saying, my shot is really cool, is really pretty, is really beautiful because it's moving. And to me, that's a load of crap. That's what's wrong with wedding videography. I should be able, in your highlight film, not necessarily in your raw footage, but in your highlight film, in the edited down 4 to 6 minute film, I should be able to pause that film on any shot. When it's in focus, I understand that there's rack focusing, we do this, shots will go in and out of focus, soft focus, whatever. But when the subject is in focus, in that shot, I should be able to pause it on any shot in that film, print that, and put it in the wedding album. Of course, not every shot is going to go up on the wall, just like in your photos. Not every shot goes up on the wall, but I should be able to print every shot and feel like it belongs in the wedding album. So that's an exercise to do when you're watching a sample film. Just hit pause. Again, it might be a little bit out of focus because they might have been racking their focus or something, so scrub ahead to where it's in focus, but hit pause. What's in the shot? How is the shot composed? How is it lit? How is it framed? Is there clutter in the background? Is something in the third? Is there good use of negative space? Or is it just a random shot of some things on a table that at first looked cool because the camera was smoothly gliding, which is something you don't see in your iPhone video and stuff like that. So at first you just thought it was cool because it was gliding, but now that you've paused it, what's actually there? Not a lot sometimes. So that, I really got ahead of myself there with answering the hook of this video, but yeah, that to me is the biggest issue I have with wedding videography, and let me expand on that a little bit more. Any critically acclaimed film, even it doesn't have to be critically acclaimed, just any of your favorite movies, go watch those back again. Is the camera just gliding around throughout the whole film? No. The difference between video and photo is the story, is capturing those moments, those emotions. Yes, there's definitely movement in there, but be really tasteful with that movement, because that's the other thing. If you're gliding your camera around all day, then it loses all power. It's the same issue with shooting in 60p all day or 30p and slowing it down. You're not gonna understand anything of what I just said if you're not a filmmaker. It's the same thing as filming in slow motion. We'll just leave it at that. If all of your footage, if all of your getting ready footage, all of your cocktail hour footage, all of it, if it's all slow motion, then when you have your first kiss in slow motion, or you have walking up the aisle in slow motion, or down the aisle in slow motion, there's no power to those moments anymore because you've robbed it of that power by using that storytelling element throughout the entire film. And movement, camera movement, is no different. Save your camera movement for when it really matters, when it's really going to be impactful, so that when it shows up, it is deeply impactful. So yeah, we will bring a gimbal, we'll bring a slider to wedding, but we'll be very careful of where we use it so that when we use it, it really has its full power. And then the rest of the day, we're focused on positioning ourselves well, composing really good shots, getting good white balance, getting good exposure, and finding those really key moments. If the subject is people, if we're shooting people, and if we're shooting still life or stabs, then creating very compelling and interesting artistic compositions that every once in a while will have some very tasteful movement in them, but not all the time. Okay, and then the last element, this is a lot smaller, but definitely worth noting. The last element for filming style would be white balance and exposure. Obviously, for any filmmaker, your white balance should just be generally true, but you will see, and you'll definitely see this in photography too, you'll see videographers who will have footage that is maybe a little bit more warm consistently throughout the day, or you'll see videographers that maybe stays a little bit more true to the color, basically meaning when stuff is shady, it gets a lot more blue, a lot cooler. And then exposure, you'll see videographers that are very light and airy, and then you'll see videographers that can be more dark and moody, and then obviously somewhere in the middle would be, you know, trying to go for a consistent, like true exposure. For us at Amari, since apparently I've not done a great job at hiding our style as I'm talking through all these points, so much for talking about us at the very end. For us at Amari, our white balance, we try to stay very, very true to the color, as I touched on a little bit in our, well, it was last week's video, but I don't know actually when this video is going to go up. So we talked about in the church challenges video. The one exception though is outdoor shade, and this is going to seem like we're splitting hairs, but this is a big one for me. Outdoor shade is very blue. It's very cold. People's skin looks very pale, very sickly. That kind of blue light is definitely a storytelling element, but it's not a storytelling element that belongs in wedding films, in my mind. Weddings should be very sentimental, very like warm, fuzzy feelings of your past. And so anytime you're watching a film, or anytime they go like back in time to like warm, fuzzy childhood memories, watch what they do with the film. They always warm it up, like warm. They might even put like film grain, make it look like Super 8. That is how we visually tell that story of warm, fuzzy memories. And so yeah, when we have an outdoor scene that gets very cool, I will have our shooters artificially add warmth in to just make it feel like a nice like golden hour warm shade. Not orange by any means, or like fake warm. You would never notice it watching it. It wouldn't feel out of place. It would just feel like it was like beautiful golden hour when in fact it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just really blue shade. But other than that, white balance, we try to stay very true because we want our films to remain timeless. Which again, going back to the gimbal movement, that is something to me that feels like it will, over time, really date this generation of wedding films, as it does feel. It's something that is not analogous with what we're seeing in actual filmmaking, which means it's gonna pass as people inevitably kind of pull back to more traditional filmmaking styles. And what I mean on that, to break on that point too a little bit, is think of like music videos versus Academy Award winning films. If you pull up an Academy Award winning film from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, you might be able to tell based on how people are dressed, or maybe the film looks a little bit, doesn't quite punch as much, you know, just technology, whatever. But generally, those films are still just as good. They're not super dated, other than, again, like things like a cell phone being a car phone, whatever. But those films stay consistent. Look at music videos, on the other hand, which are much more progressive in their style and their approach. They're always on the cutting edge of technological style, of filmmaking styles, of color grading, all this stuff. If I show you a music video from the 80s, the 90s, or the 2000s, I don't have to tell you when that music video was filmed. You'll watch 5 seconds of it and go, wow, yeah, that is 80s. That is very 80s. And that's just what the byproduct of filming your videos so on the cutting edge, on the forefront of what is in style in that moment. Inevitably, your film is going to suffer when it comes to timelessness, because it is going to very much date itself 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And wedding films are something that, you know, we want that to last a generation and then some. So I always want our films to feel very stylized, very, I don't want them to just feel like they're like fresh out of camera. I want them to feel stylized. I want them to feel like true film look, but I want to make sure it's very, very subtle, very tastefully done, so that the films remain timeless. Okay, and then part 2, editing. I was gonna jump into that next. That was gonna be the next half of this video, but I'm looking at the raw footage here, and it's already over 20 minutes long, and I don't think I did any retakes, so I think this video is probably plenty long as is. So tune in next time when we talk about approaches to editing, the different approaches to look for, and again, I'll tell you our approach and I'll tell you kind of why we do things the way we do. I'll have to think of another catchy title for that one though, because I was going to use this title for both. Whatever, that's my problem, not yours. If you enjoyed this film, click that, smash that like, whatever, the like button. Do something with it, click it, make it blue. Click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you know every time that we post. And until next time, my name's Dave. I'm gonna film the next video in the same shirt. I'm not gonna pretend like I filmed it on a different week, because you know I filmed it on the same day. So next week, it's gonna be today. It's gonna be like right now. But you're gonna see it next week. Okay, bye!